The stars had never looked so different to Lee Do-hyun as they did that morning. He sat at his communication station on Earth's orbital platform, watching the usual patterns of space traffic when something appeared on his screen that made him freeze. A ship, but not like any ship humans had ever built. "Captain Park Min-soo to the bridge," Do-hyun called over the intercom, his voice shaking slightly. "We have visitors." Captain Park arrived quickly, his boots making sharp sounds on the metal floor. He was a man who had spent 20 years in space, but even he had never seen anything like the vessel approaching Earth. It was beautiful and strange, with curves that seemed to flow like water, and lights that pulsed in colors humans had no names for. "How big is it?" Park asked, leaning over Do-hyun's shoulder to study the readings. "About 300 meters long, sir, but it's not showing up properly on our scanners. The metal it's made from, we've never seen anything like it." Down on Earth, Dr. Kim Ji-soo was having her morning coffee when her phone rang. As Earth's top expert on the possibility of alien life, she had always wondered if this day would come. Now it had. "Dr. Kim, you need to get to the Space Center immediately," the voice said. "They're here." She didn't need to ask who they were. 2 hours later, the alien ship sent its first message. The voice that came through the speakers was calm and pleasant, speaking perfect English. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are representatives of the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace, seeking dialogue with your species. We request permission to meet with your leaders." The message was broadcast around the world. Some people celebrated, others hid in fear, but the governments of Earth had been preparing for this moment for decades, even if they hoped it would never come. Ambassador Veltar stood on the bridge of his ship, looking down at the blue and green world below. He was tall and thin, with silver skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. His large eyes showed intelligence, but also something else, a kind of cold calculation that his pleasant voice hid well. "Such a beautiful world," he said to his aide. "It will serve the Confederation well once we establish proper management." "The humans seem more advanced than our initial reports suggested," the aide replied, studying the readings from their scans. "Their orbital platforms show sophisticated design." Veltar waved a hand dismissively. "They have barely left their home system. Their weapons are primitive fusion and fission devices. They pose no threat to Confederation interests." 3 days later, Dr. Kim Ji-soo found herself aboard the alien ship, part of Earth's first diplomatic team. The inside of the vessel was even more amazing than the outside. Plants grew directly from the walls, providing both oxygen and food. The lighting seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Welcome aboard the Harmony's Dawn," Ambassador Veltar said, greeting them in what appeared to be the ship's main meeting room. "We are honored to make contact with your species." Dr. Kim studied the alien carefully. He seemed friendly enough, but there was something in his manner that reminded her of the way some people talk to children, kind but not quite respectful. "We're excited to learn about the Galactic Confederation," she replied. "What can you tell us about it?" Veltar gestured to a wall that suddenly became transparent, showing a view of space filled with thousands of ships of different designs. "The Confederation includes over 200 species from across this sector of the galaxy," he explained. "We have brought peace and prosperity to countless worlds. We maintain order, protect trade routes, and ensure that all member species can live in harmony." "What would membership mean for Earth?" asked General Hayes, the military representative. "On the team, Earth would become a protected world," Veltar said smoothly. "You would contribute your planet's resources and your people's labor to the greater good of the Confederation. In return, you would receive advanced technology and protection from hostile forces." Dr. Kim frowned. "What kind of resources? What kind of labor? Nothing too difficult," Veltar assured her. "Your world has excellent mining potential, and your people show promise as workers. The Confederation has great experience in organizing primitive species for maximum efficiency." The word primitive hung in the air like a bad smell. Dr. Kim glanced at General Hayes, who had gone very still. "We would need to discuss this with our governments," Dr. Kim said carefully. "Of course," Veltar replied. "Though I should mention, that the Confederation has already approved Earth's membership. This meeting is more of a formality. Back on Earth's orbital platform, Captain Park was watching the alien ship more closely than Veltar realized. The vessel's polite exterior hid scanning equipment that was mapping every military installation and population center on Earth. "Sir," Lee Do-hyun said quietly, "I'm picking up some strange signals from their ship. It looks like they're scanning us." "What kind of scanning?" Park asked. "Deep scans. They're looking at our weapons, our defenses, our cities. This isn't normal diplomatic behavior." Park nodded grimly. He had fought in 3 wars and knew the look of an enemy studying its target. He opened a secure channel to Earth's military. "Command. This is Captain Park. Begin Protocol 7 immediately. Something tells me we're going to need it." Dr. Kim's team spent 3 more days aboard the alien ship, learning about Confederation technology and society. The more she learned, the less she liked what she heard. The Confederation didn't have member species. It had client species. Worlds that joined gave up their independence in exchange for technology and protection. Their governments were replaced by Confederation administrators. Their resources were managed by Confederation economists. Their people were moved to wherever the Confederation needed workers. "It sounds like slavery with extra steps," General Hayes muttered to her during a break. "It is," she whispered back. "But they're so sure we'll agree that they don't even try to hide it." On the final day of the initial talks, Ambassador Veltar made his formal presentation to Earth's leaders via video link. He stood in his ship's elegant conference room, with holographic displays showing the wonders of Confederation technology. "The benefits of membership are clear," he said. "Your people will have access to medical technology that can extend life for centuries. Your energy problems will be solved with matter conversion systems. Your population will be managed efficiently across multiple worlds." "And if we refuse?" asked Earth's president. Veltar's pleasant expression didn't change, but his eyes grew colder. "The Confederation has never had a species refuse membership once contact has been established. It would be unprecedented." "That's not an answer," the president said. "Isn't it?" Veltar replied softly. "The galaxy can be a dangerous place for species without proper protection." Dr. Kim felt a chill run down her spine. It wasn't an offer. It was a threat wrapped in diplomatic language. The meeting ended with Earth requesting time to consider the proposal. Veltar agreed graciously, but as the human team prepared to leave his ship, he delivered one final message. "Of course, take all the time you need. Though I should mention that our fleet exercises are scheduled to begin in this system very soon. Purely routine, you understand." As Dr. Kim's shuttle returned to Earth, she looked back at the alien ship hanging in space like a beautiful predator. She had a sinking feeling that Earth was about to learn what happened to species that said no to the Galactic Confederation. The first contact that was supposed to be humanity's greatest moment had become something much more dangerous. Commander Choi Soo-yun had been watching the alien ship for 5 days now, and she didn't like what she saw. From her position at Earth's Strategic Defense Command, buried deep beneath the Swiss mountains, she had access to sensors that could track a butterfly from orbit. What those sensors showed her about the alien vessel made her blood run cold. "Dr. Yoon Hana, get in here," she called to her chief technology analyst. Dr. Yoon hurried into the command center, carrying a tablet full of data. She was young, barely 30, but her expertise in alien technology had made her invaluable since the visitors arrived. "The scans are complete, Commander," Dr. Yoon said, her voice tight with worry. "They're not just looking at our defenses, they're mapping everything. Population centers, resource deposits, transportation networks. This isn't exploration, it's invasion planning." Commander Choi studied the data on her screens. The alien ship was beautiful on the outside, but its scanning equipment was purely military. Every sensor sweep was designed to find weaknesses, count weapons, measure resistance. "Have they detected our hidden installations?" she asked. "No, ma'am. The old sites are still invisible to their scans. But they've found everything we've built in the last 20 years. In another part of the facility, Intelligence Officer Bae Woo-jin was having his own disturbing discoveries. Using equipment that officially didn't exist, He had been intercepting alien communications for the past 3 days. The messages he captured painted a very different picture from the diplomatic talks happening above. "Commander," he said, bursting into the command center, "you need to hear this." He played a recording through the speakers. The alien voices were speaking in their own language, but the computer translation was clear enough. "Administrative Zone 7 will encompass the northern continent," one voice said. "Population relocation should begin within 6 months of compliance." "What about resistance?" another voice asked. "Standard pacification protocols. The species shows typical primitive aggression, but they lack the technology to pose a real threat. A few orbital bombardments of military targets should be sufficient." Commander Choi felt her jaw clench. "Keep recording everything. I want every word documented." Meanwhile, aboard the alien ship, Dr. Kim Ji-soo was beginning to see cracks in Ambassador Veltar's polite facade. The negotiations had continued for a week now, but the alien diplomat was becoming less patient with human questions. "Ambassador," Dr. Kim said during their morning session, "we'd like to know more about how member species maintain their cultural identities within the Confederation." Veltar's large eyes blinked slowly. "Cultural identity is preserved in museums and historical records. Living cultures must adapt to Confederation standards for efficiency." "What does that mean exactly?" "It means," Veltar said, his voice taking on a sharper edge, "that primitive customs that interfere with productivity are naturally phased out. Your species will learn to appreciate the benefits of uniformity." General Hayes leaned forward. "And what if we prefer our own customs?" Veltar's pleasant smile never wavered, but something cold flickered in his eyes. "General, I think you misunderstand the nature of this arrangement. The Confederation has already decided that Earth will join us. These talks are to help you understand your new role, not to negotiate terms." Dr. Kim felt her heart skip a beat. "Our new role? Earth will provide resources and workers to the Confederation. Your people will be relocated to where they can be most useful. Your governments will be replaced by trained administrators who understand galactic economics. It's really quite simple." "That's not joining," General Hayes said quietly. "That's conquest." Veltar's smile finally faded. "General, I suggest you adjust your thinking. The Confederation has been managing primitive species for thousands of years. We know what's best." The meeting ended early that day. As Dr. Kim's team returned to their shuttle, she noticed something that made her stomach turn. Other alien ships were beginning to appear in the outer system. Not diplomatic vessels like the Harmony's Dawn, but sleek, predatory-looking craft with weapon ports along their hulls. Back on Earth, Captain Park Min-soo was coordinating with Commander Choi through encrypted channels. The alien fleet was growing, larger every day, positioning themselves around Earth like hunters surrounding their prey. "How many ships now?" Commander Choi asked during their secured video call. 15 that we can detect," Captain Park replied. "But Lee Do-hyun thinks there are more using some kind of cloaking technology. Our best estimate is 30 vessels, all armed." "Any sign they've detected our countermeasures?" Captain Park shook his head. "They're so confident in their superiority that they're not even bothering to look for hidden defenses. As far as they know, we have a few orbital platforms and some primitive missiles." Commander Choi allowed herself a grim smile. If the aliens had done their research properly, they would have learned that humans were very good at hiding things. Some of Earth's most important military assets had been hidden for decades, waiting for exactly this kind of threat. "Begin Phase 2 activation," she ordered. "But keep it quiet." Across the globe, signals began to flow through quantum-encrypted networks. In hidden bunkers, ancient systems came online. In shipyards that didn't officially exist, construction crews began final preparations on projects that had been decades in the making. Dr. Yoon Hana was working late when she made another disturbing discovery. The alien scanning had found something new: shipping records, population databases, genetic information from medical centers. "Commander," she called, "they're not just planning to invade us, they're planning to manage us. They're cataloging our people like livestock." Commander Choi looked at the data streams flowing across her screens. The aliens were identifying which humans would be useful workers, which populations could be relocated most easily, which leaders would need to be eliminated. It was the most detailed invasion plan she had ever seen. "They've done this before," she said grimly. "Many times." The next morning brought a communication from Ambassador Veltar that dropped all pretense of diplomacy. He appeared on screens around the world, his silver skin gleaming in the light of his ship's bridge. "People of Earth," he said, his voice carrying a tone of patient authority, "your leaders have had sufficient time to consider our generous offer. The Confederation requires your answer within 72 hours. And if we refuse?" asked Earth's president during the live broadcast. Veltar's pleasant mask finally slipped completely. "President Martinez, I think you misunderstand your situation. You are a primitive species on a single world, facing the combined might of 200 advanced civilizations. Refusal is not an option available to you." "What you're describing isn't membership," the president said firmly. "It's slavery." "I prefer to think of it as guided development," Veltar replied coldly. "Your species lacks the maturity to manage itself. The Confederation will provide the structure you need to reach your potential." The transmission ended, leaving Earth's leaders staring at blank screens. The diplomatic phase was over. What came next would be decided by force. In her underground command center, Commander Choi watched the alien fleet repositioning itself into attack formation. They were preparing for what they expected to be a short, decisive battle against a AI primitive world with minimal defenses. "Ma'am," Bae Woojin called from his station, "I'm intercepting new communications from the fleet. They're talking about demonstration attacks on major population centers to encourage compliance." Commander Choi nodded grimly. She had hoped it wouldn't come to this, but Earth had been preparing for this possibility for 50 years. "Signal Admiral Kang Ji-hoon," she ordered. "Tell him it's time to wake up the sleeping giant." Deep in space, far beyond where the alien sensors could detect it, something vast began to stir. The message had been sent through channels that existed outside normal space and time, reaching a ship that had been waiting patiently in the dark between stars. Earth's real defense wasn't the orbital platforms or the missile batteries. It wasn't even the hidden weapons that Commander Choi was preparing to reveal. Earth's real defense was floating in the cold darkness of the outer system, waiting for the moment when it would be needed. The aliens thought they were hunting sheep. They were about to learn that they had cornered a sleeping dragon. As ambassador, Veltar prepared his fleet for what he expected to be an easy conquest. He had no idea that Earth had been watching the galaxy for much longer than anyone realized. Humans had learned the first rule of survival long ago. Never show your enemy your true strength until you're ready to use it. The 72-hour deadline was ticking down, and both sides were preparing for war. But only one side knew what was really about to happen. The 72 hours passed like a countdown to the end of the world. When Earth's deadline expired, Ambassador Veltar's response came immediately. "People of Earth," his voice echoed across every communication channel on the planet. "Your refusal to accept Confederation membership is regrettable, but not unexpected. Primitive species often resist progress initially." Captain Song Miran sat in the cockpit of her stealth fighter, hidden in the shadow of one of Earth's outer asteroids. She and her squadron had been waiting there for 3 days, their ships powered, down to avoid detection. Her hands were steady on the controls, but her heart was racing. "All units, this is Control," came the voice of Admiral Kang Ji-hoon through her earpiece. "Enemy vessels are moving into bombardment positions. Prepare to reveal ourselves." Across the system, more alien ships were decloaking. Not the elegant diplomatic vessel that had first arrived, but brutal-looking warships designed for planetary assault. Veltar hadn't been negotiating. He had been waiting for reinforcements. "Your first lesson in galactic politics begins now," Veltar announced. His ship's weapons powered up, targeting one of Earth's civilian space stations. "This facility will be destroyed to demonstrate the futility of resistance." The energy beam lanced out from the alien ship, designed to vaporize the station and kill the 3,000 people aboard. but the beam never reached its target. Captain Song's fighter suddenly appeared directly in the weapon's path, its shields blazing with energy as they absorbed and redirected the alien attack. The beam scattered harmlessly into space. "What?" Veltar's startled voice came over the open channels. "Impossible. Our sensors showed no ships in that area." "Surprise," Captain Song said grimly, her ship now fully visible as its stealth systems powered down. Around her, 15 more fighters materialized out of nothing, their sleek forms unlike anything in the Confederation database. Tech specialist Lim Tae-hyun watched from his control station as the alien fleet scrambled to respond. Their sensors were going crazy, trying to understand how human ships had appeared from nowhere. "Their technology is more advanced than our reports indicated," he heard one alien captain say over the intercepted communications. "These vessels show adaptive shielding and quantum phase capabilities." Lim smiled grimly. The aliens had made their first mistake. They had assumed human technology worked like everyone else's. They had studied Earth's public military displays and concluded that humans were primitive. They had never imagined that Earth's real weapons were hidden. "All alien vessels," came Admiral Kang Ji-hoon's voice from the hidden command center. "You have fired on civilian targets. This act of aggression will not be tolerated." "Admiral," Veltar replied, his pleasant diplomatic tone completely gone. "You command a handful of fighters against a fleet of 50 warships. Stand down immediately or we will destroy your entire planet." "Counterproposal," Admiral Kang said calmly. "You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawing, or we'll show you what Earth is really capable of." Veltar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. 30 seconds? Your species doesn't have 30 years of development needed to threaten us." The alien fleet opened fire simultaneously, hundreds of energy beams converging on Captain Song's fighters. It should have been the end of the small human squadron. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ships didn't try to dodge the incoming fire. Their hulls began to change, adapting in real time to each incoming weapon. Energy beams were absorbed and converted to power. Plasma bolts were deflected by fields that adjusted their frequency to match the attack. Missile warheads detonated harmlessly against shields that somehow knew exactly what was coming. "Impossible," Veltar whispered, staring at his tactical displays. "Our weapons are having no effect." Chief Engineer Ryu Soyeon, monitoring the battle from a hidden facility on Earth's moon, smiled with satisfaction. This was what 50 years of secret development had built. Ships that could learn and adapt to any attack. "The aliens perfected their technology thousands of years ago," she explained to the engineers around her. "They stopped innovating because they thought they had reached perfection. But humans never stop adapting. Our ships learn from every attack and become immune to it." Captain Song's squadron began their counterattack. Their weapons were unlike anything in the Confederation's experience. Beams that changed their nature mid-flight, missiles that rewrote their programming based on target defenses, energy fields that could turn an enemy's own weapons against them. The first alien warship died within minutes, its perfect shields useless against weapons that adapted faster than the ship's computers could respond. Then the second ship fell, and the third. "Retreat!" Veltar ordered his fleet. "All ships, emergency jump to rally point 7. But Admiral Kang wasn't done with his demonstration. "Target the asteroid field in Sector 4, he ordered Captain Song. "Show them our mining equipment." Captain Song's fighter approached a large asteroid and fired what looked like a simple energy beam. But instead of exploding, the asteroid began to glow. The beam was converting its matter directly into energy, turning solid rock into pure light. The asteroid, larger than most of the alien ships, vanished completely in a flash of brilliance that briefly outshone the sun. "That was a mining laser," Admiral Kang announced to the alien fleet, "operating at minimum power. Would you like to see our actual weapons?" The alien retreat turned into a full panic. Ships that had been confident predators minutes before were now fleeing as fast as their engines could carry them. But Veltar still had one card to play. "If you resist," he broadcast to Earth, "the Confederation will send a battle fleet that will sterilize your entire world. You have won this engagement, but you cannot stand against the combined might of 200 species. Perhaps, Admiral Kang replied calmly. But that assumes we only have what you've seen so far. Deep in the outer system, something was moving. The alien sensors, focused on the battle near Earth, missed the massive gravity signature approaching from beyond Pluto's orbit. Navigator Oseolian sat at her station aboard humanity's greatest secret, watching the tactical display as the alien fleet regrouped. They were calling for reinforcements, preparing for what they thought would be a larger battle against Earth's hidden fleet. They had no idea what was really coming. Admiral Shin Hyuk, she said quietly. Enemy fleet is consolidating at coordinates 77 Alpha. Shall we introduce ourselves? Admiral Shin Hyuk, a man who had spent his entire career preparing for this moment, nodded slowly. Signal Earth Control. Tell them the Goliath is coming home. The message flashed back to Earth through quantum-encrypted channels. In his underground command center, Admiral Kang Ji-hoon allowed himself a small smile. Commander Choi, he said to his old friend, please open a channel to the alien fleet. It's time they learned what happens when you threaten Earth. The communication beam reached Veltar's ship, where the ambassador was frantically calling for reinforcements from the Confederation core worlds. Ambassador Veltar, Admiral Kang's voice came through clearly. You wanted to see what Earth is hiding. You're about to get your wish. What are you talking about? Veltar demanded. We've seen your ships. Impressive for primitives, but we have reinforcements coming that will... You've seen our patrol craft, Admiral Kang interrupted. You haven't seen our battleship. Veltar's blood ran cold. No single ship could be a threat to an entire fleet. It was impossible. You're bluffing, he said, but his voice shook slightly. In about 10 minutes, Admiral Kang said pleasantly, something is going to drop out of hyperspace that will change your perspective on human capabilities. I suggest you use that time to reconsider your intentions toward Earth. Across the alien, fleet sensors began detecting something impossible. A gravity signature was approaching that was larger than anything they had ever encountered. Not just larger than a ship, larger than some space stations. Sir, Veltar's tactical officer said, his voice tight with fear. Whatever's coming, it's massive, and it's not showing up properly on our scanners. Veltar stared at his displays, watching the impossible readings. Whatever Earth had built, it was operating on principles that the Confederation didn't understand. All ships, he ordered, prepare for combat. Whatever they're bringing, we outnumber them 50-1. But even as he gave the order, Veltar had a sinking feeling that numbers might not matter in the next few minutes. Earth had already shown that human technology didn't work the way it was supposed to. He was about to learn that humanity's greatest creation defied everything the galaxy thought it knew about the laws of physics. The countdown to revelation had begun. Fleet Admiral Shin Hyuk stood on the bridge of the ESS Goliath, watching the tactical display as his ship approached the inner system. For 5 years, he had commanded humanity's greatest secret in the cold darkness beyond Pluto, testing weapons that shouldn't exist and perfecting systems that violated known physics. Now it was time to bring the Goliath home. Chief Engineer Ryu Soyan, report on quantum adaptive systems, he said calmly. All systems operating within acceptable parameters, Admiral, came her voice from the engineering deck. Hull phase variance is stable at 93%. We're maintaining partial existence outside normal space-time, which is why their sensors can't get a clear reading on us. The Goliath was more than just large, it was a paradigm shift in military engineering. Built using techniques learned from decades of studying captured alien technology that Earth had never revealed to the galaxy, combined with humanity's gift for innovation, it represented something entirely new. Weapons Officer Park Jong-suk, status on primary systems? All weapon systems online and ready, Admiral. Quantum resonance cannons are charged. Adaptive missile systems are loaded. The enemy has no idea what they're about to face. Navigator Oh Seol-hyun studied her instruments as they approached the battle zone. Sir, I'm reading 53 enemy vessels in attack formation around Earth. They appear to be regrouping after their encounter with Captain Song's squadron. Admiral Shin nodded. The patrol fighters had done their job perfectly, revealing just enough of Earth's capabilities to make the aliens overconfident while hiding the real surprise. Aboard Ambassador Veltar's flagship, the tension was thick enough to cut. The alien commander paced his bridge, watching his sensors struggle to track the approaching anomaly. "What are we looking at?" he demanded from his science officer. "Something impossible, sir. The mass readings suggest a vessel over 1 kilometer long, but it keeps phasing in and out of our sensors. One moment it appears solid, the next it's barely there." "That's scientifically impossible," Veltar snapped. "Matter cannot exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously." "Tell that to whatever's coming at us, sir." Dr. Cha Young-ho, the physicist who had helped design the Goliath's quantum systems, monitored the ship's approach from his station in the engine room. The theory behind their technology was simple, even if the execution had taken decades to perfect. Most species develop technology in linear progression, he had explained to his team years ago. They perfect one system, then move to the next. But humans have always been different. We combine things that shouldn't work together and make them function anyway. The Goliath's hull existed partially outside normal space, making it nearly impossible to target while maintaining full offensive capability. Its weapons could shift their fundamental properties mid-flight. Its defenses learned and adapted faster than any enemy computer could calculate solutions. It was engineering that shouldn't work, guided by theories that violated conventional physics, powered by determination that refused to accept limitations. "Admiral," Oh Seol-hyun announced, "approaching optimal engagement range. Enemy fleet is holding position, but their formations are becoming disorganized. I think they're scared." "Good," Admiral Shin replied. "Fear makes enemies make mistakes. Signal Earth control that we're beginning final approach." On Earth, Admiral Kang Ji-hoon received the message in his underground command center. Around him, displays showed the alien fleet's growing panic as their sensors tried to understand what was approaching them. "Commander Choi," he said to his old friend, "open a channel to the enemy fleet. Let's give them one last chance to reconsider." The communication reached Veltar's ship, just as the Goliath's signature became impossible to ignore. Whatever was coming was so massive that it was affecting local gravity fields. "Ambassador Veltar," Admiral Kang's voice came through clearly. "You have approximately 2 minutes before our battleship arrives in the combat zone. I suggest you use that time wisely." "One ship cannot defeat an entire fleet," Veltar replied, but his voice carried less confidence than his words. "Perhaps not," Admiral Kang agreed. "But this isn't just any ship. This is what happens when humans decide to build something that the galaxy's rules say can't exist." "You're bluffing," Veltar said, though his tactical displays were telling him otherwise. "In 30 seconds, Admiral Kang said pleasantly, the ESS Goliath will drop into normal space within visual range of your fleet. When it does, you'll understand why Earth doesn't fear the Confederation." Veltar turned to his weapons officer. "All ships prepare to fire on my command. Whatever they're bringing, we'll destroy it before it can act." But even as he gave the order, his sensors were painting an impossible picture. The approaching vessel wasn't just large, it was breaking their understanding of how space-time worked. "Sir," his science officer said, his voice tight with disbelief, "the gravitational distortions around that ship, they're not natural. It's like the vessel is existing in multiple dimensions at once. That's impossible. So was everything else the humans have shown us today. Navigator." Oh Seol-hyun's fingers danced across her controls as the Goliath prepared to drop into normal space. "Admiral, we're about to give the galaxy its first look at a Titan-class battleship. Are you ready to make history?" Admiral Shin Hyuk straightened his uniform and walked to the center of his bridge. For 5 years, he had dreamed of this moment. Earth had been threatened by forces that saw humans as primitive cattle. Now it was time to show them what cattle with nuclear weapons and quantum engineering could accomplish. "All stations, prepare for full reality phase," he ordered. "Bring us into normal space." The Goliath dropped out of its quantum state like a mountain materializing out of fog. One moment there was empty space, the next there was a ship that dwarfed everything else in the system. It was magnificent and terrifying. 1 kilometer of flowing metal that seemed to ripple with contained energy. Weapon ports that shouldn't be able to fit on a single vessel covered every angle. The hull itself seemed alive, adapting and shifting as the ship's quantum systems maintained perfect equilibrium. Aboard Veltar's flagship, every alarm was screaming at once. Size confirmed. His tactical officer reported, his voice barely a whisper. 1,012 meters long. Mass readings are impossible. Our computers can't calculate its weapon capacity. Veltar stared at the tactical display, watching as his sensors tried to map the human battleship. Every scan revealed new weapon systems, defensive capabilities, that defied physics and power sources that operated on principles the Confederation had never imagined. "Open a channel to the human ship," he ordered, his diplomatic mask finally cracking completely. Admiral Shin Hyok's image appeared on the alien bridge, and Veltar got his first look at the man who commanded humanity's greatest weapon. He was calm, professional, and absolutely confident in his ship's capabilities. "This is Fleet Admiral Shin Hyok, commanding the Earth Space Service vessel Goliath," he said formally. "You have threatened Earth's sovereignty and the safety of our people. You have fired on civilian targets. You now have one opportunity to withdraw from this system." "Admiral," Veltar said, trying to regain his diplomatic composure, "surely we can reach some arrangement. The Confederation values strength, and your ship is impressive." "Thank you," Admiral Shin replied politely. "Would you like a demonstration of its capabilities?" Before Veltar could answer, Weapons Officer Park Jong-suk had already selected a target, a small asteroid drifting at the edge of the battle zone. The Goliath's primary weapon powered up, and space itself seemed to bend around the energy-focusing array. The quantum resonance cannon that Dr. Cha Young-ho had designed fired once, sending a beam that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The asteroid didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, its mass converted directly into energy in a flash of light that briefly created an artificial star. "That was our mining laser," Admiral Shin said conversationally, operating at 1% power output. The silence that followed was deafening. Veltar stared at his readings, trying to understand what he had just witnessed. The human ship had casually deleted a mountain-sized rock from existence using what they claimed was a mining tool. "What are you?" he whispered. Admiral Shin's expression didn't change. "We're the people you tried to enslave. We're the species you thought was primitive. And we're the reason the Confederation is about to learn that some worlds fight back." The alien fleet began to scatter, their formation breaking apart as individual captains made the decision to flee rather than face the impossible human battleship. But Admiral Shin wasn't done with his demonstration. Earth had been threatened, and the galaxy needed to understand what that meant. "Navigator, O Seol-hyun," he said calmly, "plot an escort course. We're going to personally ensure that our visitors leave the system safely." The Goliath began to move, and 50 alien warships found themselves being herded toward the edge of human space by a single vessel that shouldn't exist. The age of human isolation was over. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth was not prey. It was a predator that had been sleeping. The ESS Goliath moved through space like a living thing, its quantum adaptive hull rippling with contained energy as it escorted the fleeing Confederation fleet toward the edge of the solar system. Admiral Shin Hyok stood on his bridge, watching the alien ships scatter before his vessel like leaves before a storm. "Admiral," Navigator Oh Seol-hyun reported, "the enemy fleet is requesting permission to leave the system. They're also broadcasting distress calls to the Confederation core worlds." "Let them," Admiral Shin replied calmly. "The galaxy should know what happened here today." Aboard Ambassador Veltar's flagship, panic had replaced the earlier confidence. The alien diplomat stared at his tactical displays, trying to comprehend how a single human ship could render an entire Confederation fleet helpless. "Sir," his tactical officer said, his voice shaking, "our weapons cannot penetrate their defensive fields. Our sensors cannot accurately target them, and their primary weapon just converted solid matter to pure energy." Veltar's silver skin had gone pale. In 300 years of diplomatic service, he had never encountered a species that could challenge Confederation technology. The humans weren't just advanced, They were operating on principles that shouldn't exist. "Get me a direct channel to the human ship," he ordered. Admiral Shin's image appeared on the alien bridge, his expression calm and professional. Behind him, the Goliath's quantum systems hummed with barely contained power. "Ambassador, Admiral," Shin said politely, "I trust you're finding your departure comfortable." "Admiral, please," Veltar said, his diplomatic mask cracking completely. "There must be some misunderstanding. The Confederation never intended hostility toward your species." "Really?" Admiral Shin raised an eyebrow. "Because our recordings suggest otherwise. Orbital bombardment threats, population relocation plans, administrative zones. That doesn't sound very peaceful to us." Dr. Cha Young-ho, monitoring the conversation from the physics lab, smiled grimly as he watched the aliens' attempts to understand the Goliath's technology. Their sensors were trying to analyze systems that existed partially outside normal space-time. "Sir," came a report from one of his technicians, "the alien fleet is attempting to scan our quantum matrix. Should we block them?" "No," Dr. Cha replied. "Let them look. They'll never understand it anyway. Our technology doesn't follow their rules." That was humanity's greatest advantage. While the Confederation had perfected their technology over millennia and then stopped innovating, humans had never stopped adapting. The Goliath represented 50 years of taking alien science and making it do things its original creators never imagined. Chief Engineer Ryu Soyeon called from the engine deck. "Admiral, I'm detecting some interesting patterns in the HFY alien communications. They're trying to understand how our hull exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and they can't. Their physics assumes that matter must exist in a single quantum state. They literally cannot comprehend technology that violates that assumption." President Kwon Min-jae's voice came through the communication system from Earth. "Admiral Shin, this is the President. What's the status of the alien fleet?" "Departing the system under escort, Mr. President," Admiral Shin replied. "They seem to have lost interest in diplomatic negotiations." "I can imagine. The whole world is watching this, Admiral. What message do we want to send to the galaxy?" Admiral Shin considered the question carefully. Earth stood at a crossroads. They could return to hiding, hoping the galaxy would leave them alone. Or they could announce that humanity was ready to take its place among the stars, not as subjects, but as equals. "Open a general broadcast," he ordered. "All frequencies, maximum power. Let's talk to the galaxy." Weapons Officer Park. Young-suk worked at his station, ensuring that every species in the local sector would receive Earth's message. The Goliath's communication array was as advanced as its weapons, capable of reaching across hundreds of light years. "Channel open, Admiral," Park reported. Admiral Shin straightened his uniform and looked directly into the camera. Behind him, the Goliath's bridge hummed with quiet efficiency, a testament to human engineering and determination. "This is Fleet Admiral Shin Hyok of the Earth Space Service, commanding the battleship Goliath. Today, representatives of the Galactic Confederation came to Earth demanding our surrender. They threatened our people, scanned our defenses, and prepared to invade our world." The message was being broadcast across known space, reaching every listening post and communication relay in the sector. The Confederation believed that humanity was a primitive species, suitable only for labor and exploitation. They were wrong. Admiral Shin gestured toward the tactical display, showing the fleeing alien fleet. "Earth does not seek conquest or domination. We have no interest in building an empire or subjugating other species, but we will never accept threats to our freedom or the safety of our people." Ambassador Veltar, listening to the broadcast from his fleeing ship, felt a chill run through his body. The human was speaking with the calm confidence of someone who held all the cards. "Any species wishing peaceful contact with Earth is welcome. We are eager to trade, learn, and grow alongside our galactic neighbors. But those who come as conquerors will face the consequences." Navigator. Oh Shulhyun plotted their course as they approached the edge of the solar system. The alien fleet was maintaining formation, but their ships were clearly straining their engines to maintain maximum speed. "We are not the primitives you thought we were," Admiral Shin continued. We are not the easy prey you expected to find. We are humanity, and we have been preparing for this day longer than you realize. The Goliath's quantum systems pulsed with energy, demonstrating power levels that made the alien sensors go haywire. The vessel you see before you is one of our patrol ships, built to ensure the security of human space. It represents our commitment to defending our freedom and our willingness to use whatever force is necessary to protect our people. Veltar's tactical officer looked up from his station with wide eyes. Sir, did he just say this is a patrol ship? Veltar felt his blood turn to ice. If the Goliath was just a patrol vessel, what did humanity consider a real battleship? To the Galactic Confederation, Admiral Shin said, his voice taking on a harder edge. Know this, Earth is not available for conquest. Our people are not resources for your use. Our world is not a prize to be claimed. Any attempt to force compliance will be met with appropriate response. Dr. Cha Young-ho watched as the alien ships reached the edge of the solar system. Their engines were pushed to maximum power, desperate to escape the impossible human vessel that had shattered everything they thought they knew about galactic power structures. To other species who may be watching, Admiral Shin's tone softened slightly. Earth extends an open hand to those who come in peace. We have much to offer the galaxy and much to learn, but we offer partnership, not submission. The broadcast was being recorded and retransmitted across dozens of star systems. Within hours, every major civilization in the sector would know that a new power had emerged from an unknown world. This is our declaration. Earth is free. Earth will remain free, and Earth will defend that freedom with every resource at our disposal. We hope for peace, but we are prepared for war. Admiral Shin paused, letting the weight of his words sink in across the galaxy. This concludes our first official communication to galactic civilization. We look forward to hearing from those who wish to meet us as equals. The broadcast ended, leaving silence across hundreds of worlds as governments and military leaders struggled to process what they had just witnessed. On the Goliath's bridge, Admiral Shin turned to Navigator Oh Seolyeon. Escort the Confederation fleet to the system boundary, then return us to patrol position. Yes, sir, and after that? Admiral Shin smiled slightly. We wait and see who comes calling next. Something tells me Earth is about to become very popular. Within the hour, Dr. Kim Jisu's communication array on Earth was receiving dozens of new signals, not from the Confederation, but from other species who had witnessed humanity's display of power and wanted to establish contact. Some messages came from small, independent worlds offering trade agreements. Others arrived from species that had been conquered by the Confederation, asking quietly if Earth might be willing to discuss mutual defense treaties. But the most interesting message came from a group calling itself the Free Worlds Alliance. Dozens of species who had successfully resisted Confederation expansion and now wanted to welcome humanity as a potential ally. Ambassador Veltar's fleet crossed the boundary of the solar system and jumped to hyperspace, carrying news that would shake the Confederation to its core. For the first time in 1,000 years, they had encountered a species that could not only resist their expansion, but could potentially threaten their entire empire. As the Goliath returned to its patrol route in the outer system, Admiral Shin reflected on what they had accomplished. Earth had announced itself to the galaxy not as a supplicant seeking protection, but as a power demanding respect. The age of human isolation was over. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere in the cold darkness between stars, other ships were stirring, vessels even larger and more advanced than the Goliath, humanity's answer to any threat that might emerge from the depths of space. Earth was ready for whatever came next.